Hi, I'm Rebecca Bradley. This is a Virtual Crime Book Club. The date is Monday, the 18th of July, 2022. We are discussing The Retribution by Val McDermid. There will be spoilers within the discussion, so if you're watching this as a video recording and not here in the discussion, be aware if you plan to read the book, you maybe want to come back to this afterwards. So, I take it everybody's read it. Yep. Is there anybody that hasn't got to the end yet? Lorraine, okay. So are you happy for spoilers?
Fine.
Okay.
I just enjoy anything that Val McDermid writes anyway.
Well, I only finished it an hour ago.
Well
so that is late for me. So obviously the first question, as usual, is just wait for somebody else is logging in. Another Lorraine. Is that you, Lorraine?
What?
You're not logging in again, are you?
No, that's Lorraine with 2 R's. I'm a Lorraine with 1 R.
Ah. Oh, there she is. No, that's Lorraine. Where's Lorraine?
She's gone.
She's gone. Okay. Did you enjoy the book?
Well, I'm enjoying it.
How far through it are you?
About halfway.
Halfway. Everybody else, is it all positive?
I enjoyed it.
Yes.
I loved it. No. I found the characters not likable, so no.
Where's that from? Is that Ellen?
That was me.
You're right. You're a no.
Nah.
Is that the first one you've read? I've got Val McDermid's.
Yes.
All right.
This is on one of my favourite series. This whole the Tony Hill, Carol Jordan ones, and actually they'd been on my list of rereads, as it were, and I'd got to the stage where when this came up, I was really excited, but I had to read not just this one, but the 2 preceding ones to catch myself up. And I kind of think, reading it for the second, now reading the series for the second time, I kind of take Kathy's point, because I actually don't really like the character of Carol now, and I loved the whole thing at the first time around. Reading them, I love the team. I love the camaraderie between the team and the interactions between them and their various relationships. But this time around, I just don't like her very much.
I think she's quite severe in this book, isn't she? The way she takes against Tony right at the start. It's not Tony's fault. It's just as much her fault as Tony's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did people enjoy about the book?
I think it was really well paced. I thoroughly enjoyed it as a thriller. Although having got to the end of it, I'm not quite sure how believable the whole thing was, if you know what I mean. But I enjoyed it as a story.
I quite like the character Jacko Vance, who's the sort of person you'd love to hate, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
You do know it's based on Jimmy Savile, don't you?
I wondered about that.
Had other
people read the first, the Wire in the Blood, which is the one where they actually catch Jacko Vance, which I say it's about number 2.
It's number 2.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, I've read that one, so I did know who he was.
I didn't read that one, but I actually Googled it and I found a synopsis, so I actually read it because I think it was important to also follow this story. I think it was nice that we read one of these more normal crime books with the police officer and the team and the profiler. I think we haven't read one like this for a while. I enjoyed it. It was the first one in the series. I also did not feel that connected to the main characters, but I guess it's also because I'm starting from book 6 or 7, maybe when you start by reading the first one, then you develop this relationship with the characters. So I didn't feel this, but I think it was just because I got to the series in the middle. But I enjoyed it. It was quite fast-paced. It was interesting, and yeah, I liked it.
So who is the character based on? This Jacko Vance?
Jimmy Savile. Val McDermid met Jimmy Savile in 1997 or something, and she said the hairs in the back of her neck went up. She just couldn't take to him at all. Didn't believe the persona he was putting out. So she decided she'd write a book about him, but instead of making him not particularly attractive looking, she made him very charismatic, as in Jacko Vance. But Jimmy Savile's middle name was Vince.
Can you spell his name out in the chat section, so because I can't quite figure out how to research this person?
He's a very notorious.
Okay.
He was. Let me type him in.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
He's a disc jockey and TV celebrity.
He was. I've spelled his surname incorrectly,
okay.
But that's how it is. He was on TV doing kids programs where he grant their wishes.
I seen something. There's a documentary about him.
Yeah,
on Netflix,
wasn't there?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, on Netflix. Yeah. Yes, I didn't watch it, but I did note the name then. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and after his death, a lot of stuff came out about him.
Yeah, because he didn't get caught, did he? Until he was after he died is when they went, wait a minute, this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you thought that Vance was a well thought out character in this.
He was very convincing, wasn't he?
Yes.
I thought he was probably one of the better characters in the book.
He was actually.
The only thing I had real big problem with is the ending, because he came at Tony's mother with a knife, and she stabbed him. So I couldn't figure out why she didn't get stabbed too, like, 2 stabs.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, she's in other later books again. I mean, she's not very nice either.
No, she's not.
Definitely not.
She sounded awful.
Yeah, she is awful. Yeah.
How did you, because we were in the middle of the series with this book, how did you feel backstory from previous books was dealt with? Did you think it was weaved in well, that you understood who the characters were, what their lives had been like up till this point, and that you knew what was happening? Or did you feel a bit like you were floundering?
I think the motivation of Jacko was explained well, and I got all of that. But what I didn't get, having not read the previous novels, was the history between Carol and Tony and their whole relationship. I didn't fully kind of get my head around that.
It is quite a tortured relationship, actually, or tortuous relationship over the books and over the. So yeah, I think actually you probably would find that quite difficult if you hadn't read the other books, to sort of set the scene.
And Jane, did the series finished already? Do you know?
No, I think there's about another after the Retribution. I think there might be another 3, maybe 4. Can't remember. But I think I did see a tweet from Val McDermid that said that after the last one that was published, that would be the last one, because I think that the word she put was something like Tony no longer spoke to her. So obviously, as a character, I think she probably felt that she'd taken him and the series as far as she could go.
Have you read that book? Has it got a satisfactory ending for a series?
Well, I don't want to give away any spoilers in case people go on to read it, which I would actually highly recommend, because I think it's a great series. But it is Yes, I would say it is satisfactory, because I don't, from the way of the situation of the characters, I don't really see what the basis of the next plot would be. I can't see. I mean, I don't want to give away where Tony and Carol have ended up by the end of the last book, but I really don't think there's anywhere else you could take that particular relationship without doing a big leap forward in time. And I say, I think I think Val has obviously, she's got her other, the 1979, which now she's progressing that to 1989, that she's doing that as a series. I just think she felt that she'd taken the series as far as she possibly could. I would say reasonably satisfactory in the end. There is no, I can safely say though, there is no happy ending for Tony and Carol.
Well, I guess that already see that.
Yeah, it's a tortured relationship. And as I say, I'm reading the novels again, and having done 3 sort of like over the space of 3 weeks, pretty well, up into the Retribution. As I say, as a character, I find myself liking Carol less and less and less. In fact, I want to give her a good slapping, and say, why are you being such a bitch? But it's
because in terms of background, I think I understood more or less Tony's background, because they speak about his childhood, even his dad and his mom, and so I think I understand that he has some issue, but Carol, I didn't really understand her background. Okay, we knew about now her parents and the brother that was killed, but I wasn't sure about her background. So in terms of background, responding to Rebecca's, it was easy to follow the book and understand, but I was lacking some background on Carol, and also her team. At the beginning, I was a bit confused about who was who in the team. But just because there were a lot, and of course, it was difficult to get background on all of them. But I think it was okay.
I think probably what I like about in some of the later books is that you get some of the other characters and their relationships fleshed out a bit more. I'm thinking here particularly of Paula and Stacey. They have other. They're not just bit players. They do have their own storylines in future books. And as I say, that I think for me, that's really what I like about the books as a whole. Although the central characters are Tony and Carol, actually, it is this whole team thing behind them, and the way those characters interact. So it's always been. I think this was possibly one of the this might have been the first series, one of the first series where I actually started to read series of crime novels where they feature the same character again and again. Up until then, I hadn't, maybe 1 or 2 other series, but now, as I say, as a concept, I'm really hooked on it.
It was quite a large cast of characters. Did you manage to keep up with everybody?
Well, it's easier to read the earlier books and you know the people already. I think it's quite hard to come in just from the start and but not knowing what's been going on before. So that is more difficult, yes.
Yeah, for a while I thought Chris was a man. So yeah.
Yes, because you've got Sam and you've got Chris, which are both neutral names, aren't they?
It was just confusing. Some bits were confusing, but it's normal. When they have so many characters, it's difficult to get all sorts of background information about all of them. But it was still okay. I could still follow the book and enjoy the book. And
And you'd got 3 police forces involved. So you'd got officers from 3 different police forces. So you've got characters, obviously more characters involved in the book than maybe would normally be. But you managed to keep up with them all. Who was your favourite?
So long as I don't put all the characters in the first 2 chapters, then I'm fine with adding more characters, because yes, it's where I am now, there are quite a few characters, but I can follow it. It's just that I don't like characters dumped on me because then I have to keep going backwards all the time if they're early on. But as they gradually come in and you understand this person and you see some more come in, I think that works really well. And that just goes to show a great writer.
Yeah. So out of the cast of characters, who would you say was your favourite? Obviously, Jane didn't like Carol.
I didn't like Carol either. Not a fan. No.
Tony's nice, isn't he? You'd like to have a friend like Tony.
Yeah.
I must admit, I like Paula. I like Paula. I love a lovely character, and again, then in later books you see the her relationship with Eleanor developing and things like that. And it's, as I say, I like. She's one of my favourites.
Yes.
I almost wish that McDermid would continue the series with Paula if Tony's not speaking to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she has some freestanding novels, but she doesn't have another series that's in contemporary times, does she?
Yes, she does. Yes.
There's the Karen Perry ones, which I admit I've only read the first of.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're really good.
Mm-hmm.
Are they? So I've only read the first one, and that was some time ago, and I don't. It obviously hasn't grabbed me because although I've got subsequent ones on my Kindle, I haven't yet jumped into them.
There's about 5 of them, I think. I think I've read them all. I really like those. But I always keep thinking of Tony, and I see Murray Robson or Robson Green all the time, and I just like Tony, and of course, he's the guy you just sort of want to say, give him a big hug and say, listen, it's going to be okay,
Leela. Yeah, I saw Robson Green when I was reading. Yeah.
She's got 2 other series. She's got Kate Brannigan and Lindsay Gordon.
Yeah. Yeah, I read Kate Brannigan's years ago.
I think they were some of her early ones, weren't they? I would say.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't you think
she was a feisty one?
Don't you think she's a brilliant authoress?
Yes.
Yeah. And very interesting to listen to. If you've ever, I think I've listened to a Radio 4 piece, the interview with her, and very interesting.
I think her books could be edited. I must admit, I didn't read this one because I have read most of the Jacko novels ages ago. And then I've read the Karen Pirie ones, which I think I do prefer. And then I read the earlier private detective ones. And then I've read a lot of her standalone ones. But every time I read them, especially over the last several years, I vow never to read another one because I just find them too long. But then I can't find them that bad because I always end up picking up another one.
She has been writing for decades though, so she's got a lot of experience behind her.
She also knows a lot about forensic science. She's written a book on forensic science. She works with Sue Black at University of Dundee on forensic science there.
Yeah, she does.
Did she not come into the Karen Pirie books?
Oh,
I think there was something.
I think she does,
I think because she does use a forensic scientist in Dundee in the Karen Pirie.
She's written a non-fiction book called Forensics, which is on my book case behind me as well, with the help of Sue, I think it is.
So have you watched the TV series Wire on Blood?
Yes, it is.
Was it good?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, how they did it, yeah. But as we said, I just see, when I was reading the book, I just see Robson Green as Tony Hill.
I like him a lot, so I'll try to catch it in the iPlayer or something.
Yeah.
Might be able to do
it. So we've mentioned Carol and Tony's relationship. When Michael and Lucy were murdered, what did you think of Carol's reaction to that with Tony? Do you think she was right?
No, I think she was very unfair.
Yeah. I mean, he's not clairvoyant. You know, he was doing the best he could. I don't think there's any way he could have even thought that would happen.
No.
But I just figured Carol was lashing out and was grieving, and therefore had to have a release somewhere. So took
but
that
she kept
out
going
on
with
someone
it.
She was close to. That is true.
The book. She just kept going, which, you know, understandable. It was a terrible thing, but I just felt like it was really unfair to him. It's like he's her punching bag. Do you know?
Yeah. Particularly, she sort of she blamed him for making her family a target because he'd involved her in the original investigation, which is back in War in the Blood. And I kind of think there was one of those things where I thought, let's go back and have a look at that, because I know that she obviously he was the one that involved her in it, but she did have a choice. She didn't have to go down the route, I think, of assisting him on that investigation. So I did feel she was being deeply unfair to him, but understandable on one level in those circumstances because of the shock and grief and everything else. But it's the fact that she shows no sign of calming down.
Right.
That is the bit, you know, in the immediate aftermath, you know, at the first, you know, the scene and having seen the book, you could understand her just lashing out. But it's the fact that she keeps that going and can't seem to step back from that position. I find that not very nice.
I think it is only a matter of a day or 2 days, isn't it? You know, that we see to the end of the book.
That's why I've got to now rush on and read the other ones afterwards to see, because I can't honestly remember. I can remember where they end up, but I can't remember all of the steps in between. And I just
yeah.
But she's a police officer, so her job is actually to investigate and to bring criminals to justice. So even if Tony was the one that began the investigation because he was doing something with a team of profilers, okay, but she's still a police officer, so it's part of her job. So yeah, I think she was just grieving, and the short-term reaction is understandable. So let's see how this develops in the next book.
We couldn't get Val here tonight. She had previous engagements, but if she was here, what would you ask her about the book or her writing of the book or the series?
Ooh.
Maybe how she got inspired to create a character of Tony, or because it's also interesting to have like a profiler that is the main character, and obviously also had lots of issues growing up. He has, I don't know exactly what he has, but he has Asperger's or something like this, because socially he's not able to connect to people. So yeah, because I guess these books are quite, some of them are old. So how did she got inspired to create this character?
I went to a book launch, well, not so much book launch, but she was a guest of honour at the Sydney, the BAD Crime Writing Festival a few years ago before COVID hit us all. And her thing was she came up with Tony, and she had Tony in her mind, and she had a friend who was in the police force and thinking about things. And she said she was, you know, she had lots of things going around like a petri dish of ideas. And she suddenly had all these things going through her head while she was driving somewhere. She had to pull over and write it all down. And then she went back and started writing like crazy. And that's how she sort of started. And she kept saying when she's in the middle of her writing, she writes every day, even if it's only 30 minutes a day, when she's having a bad day. Otherwise, she starts that 30 minutes and then she might find herself 6 hours later finishing or deciding that she's a bit hungry and needs to have something else. But she has a number of friends in the police force, and a lot of people who she goes to for information. So she's got like that, you were saying, that woman in Dundee, and she goes to her and picks her brain all the time. She says, well, she'll go to her with an idea and say, well, is this possible? And if they say, well, no, so she said that goes out the window. But she's an incredible woman, and I really bonded with her because she's short, she's got short hair, she wears Skechers. I just thought that's my kind of female.
Yeah. I think I would love to ask her, sort of like, or you know, when she's writing essentially a long series, because I think there's 10 or 11 books in total in that series, whether, and as I say, that intriguing comment about Tony no longer speaks to her and whatever, but whether she actually, you know, whether that she's got an idea, you know, from book one, how of sort of like what she wants to do with the relationship, because it's key to the whole of to all of the books.
It is
how she wants to you know, whether she knows roughly before she started book one, did she know roughly where their relationship was going to go and where it was going to end, and sort of like then she added the plots around it, or whether it just literally it's well, I've got them this far, what can I do with them next, and what would be the next thing that would happen to them? Yeah, as I say, it'd be fascinating to know that, because on one level it must be very hard to keep on, you know, with the same characters, you know, keeping on
and
trying to develop the relationship, but also having the other plot lines going along behind that.
Because series readers, they read series for the characters.
Yes, exactly. And so I've now largely got hooked on that as a sort of like a group. So now I think, I've read the first one. I really want to find out what happens to the character in the next, etc., etc. And then suddenly you're sort of like 10 or 15 books down the line, and you think, well, how on earth, you know, when the author writes book one, how do they get? And do they have it, you know, or is it just literally you just keep on adding on? I mean, well, you would know better than I do, Rebecca, but
well, we all do it differently.
Yeah,
we really, really do. There is no one way of writing a book, a series, a trilogy. There's no one way of doing it. One thing I'd be interested in is writing a profiler, writing something or someone that is more intelligent than yourself. How do you go about doing that? Does she have a profiler she can speak to, or does she just make it up? I listened to a podcast about how you write somebody that's more intelligent than yourself, and it's getting them to just sound intelligent on their subject. And
was that, I think I might have heard, was it a podcast that was it was an interview that was done, I've heard something very similar where I think the Red Hot Chili Writers podcast, Abe Mukherjee and Vasim Khan, they interviewed David Baldacci, I think. You know,
it might have been, or it might have been an older one.
I just say, just what you're saying, just sort of like chimes with something I think I've heard. You know, again about how you do this, if it's on something more intelligent, or indeed a subject that you know nothing about, and how you actually get that into your book.
It's really interesting, because how do you write a profiler? You don't know one, because it's not just with medical stuff. You can look up, you can watch a video on how to do heart surgery, but profiling is all in the mind. So you've got to be able to talk the jargon in your book, but how do you pick that up from online searches? I think that's a bit more difficult. So yeah, I'd be interested to know if she's got she's probably got somebody she talks to.
I wonder if she's actually had that based on someone she met early on in her non-writing career, and developed the character that she already knew, because it's so intimately portrayed in all the books. You know, I just think she's brilliant in that respect.
Yeah, I think she definitely does her homework.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So the ending was brought up earlier. Were you surprised by the ending?
Yes, I was. I didn't think it was a very good ending.
Yeah, it was a bit weak, I thought. I just couldn't believe that. I know she's not a very nice person, Tony's mother, but I just didn't believe that she would be physically able to overpower him and stab him instead of him stabbing her. That just didn't quite ring true.
It would be more interesting if Tony had got there before she'd killed Jacko and see what happens between the three of them.
Yeah.
I really liked it, actually, as an ending, because it came as such a surprise to me, and Jacko was planning everything to within an inch of its life, and that was covered in such detail, and then he was basically brought down by a single thrust to the heart that he didn't see coming. And I had more of an issue with the beginning and him how he broke out of jail than I did with the ending, which, as I say, I really quite liked.
Do you think we should have seen the ending because it was done off page?
Well, I think yes. I think that's it's a difficult one because it's sort of like left to your imagination to a degree about exactly how evil Vanessa was how she actually did it. Did she have any choices? Or did she willfully and cold-bloodedly just essentially murder him?
We know his reason for being there.
Yeah, we know. So you can sort of say the self-defense, but without actually, because as you say, it's off page. You don't see it. You wonder, well, what was the, from that moment when she says something like, "Hello, Jacko, I've been expecting you," or what kept you? How did that scene then develop and whatever? I mean, if he just sprang on her, being probably much stronger than she is, would she have survived? Or did she? I mean, it would be just interesting to know exactly how she did manage to overpower this man, who had essentially, with his prosthetic, essentially was like a club, because he could use it like that. Yeah.
And I wanted him to survive and go back to prison and just rot there. I think that somebody who's so evil needs to just suffer.
Yeah, but he
in prison.
Like prison life, because he said there was plenty of opportunity to use his mind for evil. So I think he adjusted to prison life, also because he had lots of money on the outside, so he could actually get some perks. So I was surprised by the ending. I like it that it was off page, and I'm pretty sure that Vanessa just stabbed him. Like she said, "Okay, so why took you so long?" And then she just went for it. Yeah. I don't think she waited for him to pull a knife on her. It's not that I know the character, but from what I could understand, she's ruthless. So yeah, I think she just murdered him, and I think it says more about her than it says about Jacko. So probably it was also important to develop a bit her character and to show us what she's capable of. Maybe it's important for the rest of the series. But yeah, I liked it. I was surprised.
I agree with Vera. I think definitely I thought she murdered him. She was so prepared. I thought she was quite interesting in that she decided he was going to come, and she was fully prepared, and she was there to attack him. So perhaps she got the surprise. And when it comes to the characters, I don't actually like some of the characters, but I think the way they were portrayed and were written about was very good. I got I haven't read the other books in the series. I'd like to read more of them now.
Yeah.
But certainly I felt I got enough background to be able to understand the story. I certainly didn't want to put the book down. Everything else got pushed on one side because I was reading it, and it just, honestly, it's as well that it's been this sort of weather because nothing else got done. I thought it was excellent. I thought the characters were very well described. I might not have liked them, but they were well portrayed.
Not all characters have to be likable, do they?
True.
So were people satisfied by the ending, even if you were a little bit surprised?
Yeah.
I think it was. Well, I share the idea that, or the sentiment that it would have been nice to see Jacko go back to jail and just rot there forever. Equally well, there would always then be the question about whether he could mastermind another escape or whatever, and unlikely though that may seem. And I think it was good to just essentially put an end to that part of the the Jacko Vance story, as it were. So yes, I think it was satisfying. And I don't think, and I can't think, there was nobody else there that would have, that I think you could have said would have killed Jacko, because Carol wanted to make the collar, as it were, and put him away again, and Tony wouldn't have killed him, although possibly would have wanted to kill him, but Tony wouldn't, and therefore there is a limited cast of potential people to take Jacko out permanently.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good ending. I enjoyed it, and in the context of the whole book, I thought it was very clever. Very, very good book.
So you enjoyed the book overall, Norman?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, very good.
So who here is going to go on to read the next in the series?
I might go back and read the earlier ones first.
That's what I would recommend. As I say, I'm now rereading the series, so I've got up to this one, and I'll continue to the end. But definitely, if you haven't read the earlier ones, because it will, again, it helps with what's happening in this one. You get so much more of the backstory.
I think the first two are very gripping. The two of them, they're quite difficult to read sometimes.
The mermaid scene.
But she has like 10 or 11 now. I saw in the list. I wanted to read them, but there is so much to read and so little time. But
exactly, so many books, so little time.
But I actually prefer books with unlikable characters. I don't need to like all the characters. I actually prefer characters that I don't like, because I found them usually more interesting. It's nice when you like one character or two, but you don't have to like all of them. They just need to be believable. And so I also like this type of books where the characters are all a bit, they are not like the perfect colleagues, they are not the perfect human beings, so they have lots of flaws and they make lots of bad decisions. So yeah, I might try to read the series, but it's just that I already have so much to read in my Kindle and my books. I'm getting lost.
Yes. So overall for this month's book, we're saying the group enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else to say about this book?
I can't wait to reach the end where all this stabbing happens. Yay!
Yes, you're only halfway to, and we've told you what happens. Will that spoil it for you?
I just enjoy the way she writes. I feel as though I can see the characters in my mind's eye, and she's one of those people where I can keep turning the page, but I don't have to keep going back to reread things. And, that's what I like about her easy writing readability that it has.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, I'll stop the recording.